attacks were not uncommon. They would actually fly kind of in a wall.
Nighttime! Nighttime!
As bomber as possible, and then, you know, use gravity.
I cannot get used to that, to flying like that.
By the way, the Japanese did that as well, because they knew that the front side of the bomber was the...
Destroy enemy attackers and cover the Allied ones.
So there you see kind of a catastrophic hit. Sometimes it's
Hey, if that's where they want to go, we'll let them go. Major Richard Bong.
Overall, this is a...
They can go that way. I'm going to go this
They
way.
do a pretty good job of this. I'd probably give it a 9.
I'm not a fan of these nighttime.
You see the brass shell casings coming out of the wings? That's pretty realistic.
There we go.
You don't think there's about the hole coming out of the barrel, but not all the brass that's getting expelled. Ramming the wing, you have a bigger collision. At those speeds, that force is just going to get a slab of pieces and parts. In that clip, the Zero, you know, was relatively unscathed. That's complete fiction. If you cut off the tail of the plane's not going to spin out of control. It's just basically going to fall straight
Oh, yeah.
down. The tail gives it its stability and pitch.
Can you imagine actually having to fly these things in combat and you got to reach down and turn the knob and
Look, you too many,
man, that would be crazy.
What they're doing, they're dropping their external fuel tanks. So to try and maximize range, you can carry external fuel tanks that you would jettison once you make contact with the enemy, because they gave you extra gas, but they're going to slow you down. They're extra drag and extra weight.
The trick is fly towards the Berlin airport. I got to remember that. I always forget. Everyone always flies off in that direction.
At the top of the apex, you know, when you pitch over and dive back down, you're pretty slow right there at the peak when you're pitching over, and extremely vulnerable. So you're going so slow. Usually for the kamikaze guys, they're going to come in low, they're going to stay fairly low. Or they're going to start off higher, they just have all the extra energy to do that dive.
I did not get there on time.
They've got, you know, a couple very small attention to detail with the brass shell casings coming out, and everything else just pretty terrible. Give it about a 1.5. St. Paul's
Yeah, I've lost them. I don't even know where they went now.
were leaving contrails that were just swirling masses over the skies that were visible by people of London and the English countryside. It was kind of unique in warfare to watch these dogfights going on overhead. You know, take a hit of the engine, oil starts spewing out, covering the windscreen. That's pretty good. You don't have windshield wipers, so you're just kind of stuck with a black screen in front of you. That's a really good job showing what it's like bailing out of a World War II fighter. You know, you slide the canopy back and unhitch your harness.
A lot of wasted bullets there.
That guy's got a line twist. You can't plan for that. That's a minor malfunction, and he's kind of bicycle kicking his legs to try and get a kind of gyroscopic effect to unwind the parachute riser. So that's extremely realistic. One of the greatest things about this movie is how many airplanes they use. The fact that they use real airplanes is one of the greatest parts about this movie. They joke that they were one of the world's largest air forces when they did this. This is one of the best ones out there. I give this a solid 9. That's accurate. The bomber guys call the fighters little friends. Although the fact that they have P-51s work in combat at this point in 1943, they came along a lot later. Americans operating in a 4-ship formation. You still got that mutual support. You'd be in a flight of 4 aircraft with 2 elements or 2 sections, each one with a lead and a supporting wing. So that's pretty accurate. So this we call a high aspect merge, where you go head to head and merge with the enemy. A head-on shot like that, again, is a really difficult shot. Those fighters are very small, and to try to hit those targets at those closing speeds are pretty difficult. But when they show them merge and the Mustangs kind of go up and engage them, information that they can, the wingmen are able to keep sight of the lead, but also engage the enemy themselves as opposed to just flying tight formation. Fighters aren't really flying that close. You have to do that just for...
Still going down, eh? Still?
To get both aircraft in the frame.
Still trying to shoot.
And this is where the arsenal, there is no way that the co-pilot will leave his...
Is there a way to turn these interior lights off?
But the fact that you can't control it, when a plane, goes out of control, that it might, fly into another aircraft or a bomber like that, stuff like that did happen. So, again, when you have that many airplanes in that relatively small piece of sky, stuff happens. I'd probably give it, I don't know, 7.5. I'd say my favorite World War II dogfight movie is probably the Battle of Britain. They're using real airplanes.
Ah, fungu.
If you enjoyed this video, click the link above for more.
Looking for a stunning logo? Design.com is the world's #1 AI logo generator with a massive library.
Of course they are, man.
Logo designs created by professional designers from around the world. Just enter your business name and boom, Design.com will generate thousands of logo ideas in seconds. So whether you're launching a salon, an e-commerce business, or a cafe, Design.com can generate a logo for you. Once you find a logo that you love, you customize it with ease. With your new logo, Design.com can also help you get a website, business cards, social media designs, and more. All automatically branded with your logo colors. Start for free at Design.com and get the perfect logo for your business.
What the hell?
It is the early summer of 1944, and both sides of the battle in Europe can feel the fight approaching a crucial moment. This moment would end up being June 6th of 1944.
Are we done out here? Like, should we go
Soldiers on the ground.
see the boys or what?
They would undoubtedly need cover from the air. This cover would come from the brave men of the 8th Air Force, men like Ed McNabb. But this was no easy task. Low-level ground support was always a high-risk endeavor, and as we will see in this video, it would involve intense combat, close calls, and tragic losses. As we turn the page, Ed McNabb's flight
Fuck.
log to the month of May.
It doesn't show it till last minute.
In the month of March and April, nearly every combat entry was high-level escort missions. This is typically the one that comes to mind when we think of the Mustang in Europe. But in May of 1944, these entries begin to change. Now, we can see dive bombing practice takes 2 of the slots on this page, an abrupt change in the middle of the war. Using valuable time of seasoned pilots to practice a new skill set, it almost feels as if the 8th Air Force is preparing for something big. This something was obviously Operation Overlord, the Allied invasion of France that would come to be called D-Day. And with this massive operation, the P-51 pilots of the 355th Fighter Group would be needed in a new role, that of low-level bombing and attack to disrupt supply lines and eliminate defenses for the ground troops.
Alright, now we can go home. We got 4. We'll go home and land. If I can find home.
Fighters were exposed to anti-aircraft and German fighters, but dive bombing was also not easy to master.
There it is. There it is. There it is. There it is. There it is.
Timing and feel for the tactic. Because of this, these practice sessions would be very important. But with only a couple of weeks until D-Day, they would not have nearly enough time to become experts in this method.
Bomber escort in aerial fighting is air-to-air, which that means that while it is three-dimensional, you're looking at another moving target and you're trying to establish either what is referred to as a lead pursuit, lead lag, or curve so that you can aim your bullets and your trajectory to get the position to fire. Different from that is, again, going back to dive bombing, while it sounds relatively simple, isn't as easy as you think. I learned this flying air tankers and dropping retardant on fires, and you have to consider the effects of wind, angle of descent, and one of the big things would be in a Mustang is simply being able to get that pitch angle, because if the pitch angle varies, then the release of the bomb will vary the trajectory of the bomb. In addition to that, you have the inevitable guy on the ground shooting at you, and that there are some fairly famous videos, gun camera videos floating around of guys coming in to attack a train, and then they find that the sides of the train open up and there's a machine gun nest inside the train, and you can see the tracers coming from the machine guns back towards...
We made it. We made it down.
Towards the airplane.
Whoop. Stay on the runway. Stay on the runway. Stay on the runway.
Only trying to get the trajectory and the angles correct to get the bomb on target, because if you place it half mile off, it knows
Somehow we made it.
You also have to deal with avoiding the ground fire that's coming at you.
As the end of May is drawing near, another big change was coming to the 355th. A new version of their P-51 was beginning to arrive. While the Mustang had been a groundbreaking and effective fighter, improvements needed to be made, and these would come in the form of the D model. With these D models, another interesting feature would be added, the famous invasion stripes that were to prevent friendly fire in the chaotic landings in France. But interestingly enough, these D models were not given out all at once, but rather oftentimes on an as-needed basis as the new aircraft began to arrive. So, as the weeks went on, Ed and many of the others were still in the D model until they had to make the switch. But in the meantime, everyone was preparing for the big day. By this time,
Where are they all?
the American force had assembled, and the constant bombardment of France made it clear that the Allies would soon be invading Fortress Europe.
D-Day. Well, you know, leading up to D-Day, all the airplanes were painted with black and white stripes. We had black and white stripes on the fuselage and black and white stripes on the wings. And that was to try to hopefully prevent Navy gunners from shooting us if we got in their area. They're called D-Day stripes. I think the Navy thought it was finally, because we had
And why are you flying this high over the city? You should be bombing the enemy, you lazy mother.
And then all of a sudden, this is the day you are going.
Here, in his logbook, we can see that
All these guys?
3rd and 4th, the 355th participated in escort missions, and then on June 5th, much-needed rest was given before, finally, the day had arrived, June 6th of 1944. As thousands of American
It's gonna wait till I get right up to him.
were about to storm the beaches of France, the Mustangs of the 355th were taken to the air.
As 8th Air Force fighter pilot, we didn't have an assignment down on the beachhead. We were assigned patrols. And it was interesting because there were a bunch of fighter pilots, day fighter pilots I've been emphasized. And we were taking off about 5 o'clock in the morning, maybe 4:30. And of course it was dark. So I'm a flight leader, and I've got 3 guys on my wings, and we take off in elements, 2 each, and then they join up, and we're supposed to go out for a certain number of 1,001, 1,002,
What the hell?
and then they can
There's some shooting going on over here.
get into the squadron lineup. Well, I never did get into the squadron lineup. And we had 3 overcasts, a little, not too thick, 800 feet at the base,
Come on!
airfield, and then another maybe
Come on! Skeet, 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 skeet. Come on! Skeet, 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 skeet.
We're all thick, and we were doing time distance to our control area. The
Can't see fuck all.
The beachhead bombing and shelling. So we knew where we were going. Kind of. We knew we were going to that area. And we did, and it was still dark, so we got into what we thought was our patrol area and set up a mobile track to our patrol in case we were called upon to do something else, which we were not. And as the dawn broke, we looked out and there was another patrol over here, and another one over there, and another one over there. And the most dangerous thing for us on D-Day was running into each other. So we did our patrol, nothing happened, we came home.
The first mission of the day, which was primarily a patrol, went on rather uneventful. Poor cloud cover made much of the patrol difficult, so as the troops were hitting the beaches, the 355th actually saw little action other than simple flag, so they returned back to England in a few hours. But this was not the only mission that they would be assigned on D-Day. Almost immediately after returning, the Mustangs were loaded up and refueled for another assignment, and it would be, you guessed it, dive bombing. This second mission would go on to have more than enough action to go around. For this mission, the P-51s and its crew were outfitted with bombs, and they were instructed to hit targets of value on the ground in France, especially any vehicles or supplies that were headed to the beaches to fortify defenses. This would prove to be of the utmost importance to the boys fighting on the ground.
The whole idea would be to suppress enemy fire as much as possible to try to get a beachhead for the soldiers. And certainly Gen 6, Gen 7, 44 were key roles for that. And they, at that point, were different. The whole idea was to give as much massive firepower as possible, whether by air, land, or sea. And what they were essentially trying to do was carve out enough of a beachhead that they could get a foothold into France so that they could then advance. And everything they could give, whether it be P-47, P-51, or naval artillery for that matter, was designed to be able to suppress the German fire so that they could carve out a beachhead for the Allies.
D-Day and after D-Day, some of them were loaded with bombs underneath the wings where they normally carried fuel tanks. And their role was to go out and do dive bombing. They have been trained a little bit for dive bombing, but my guess is that they were still going to be a little bit inaccurate because they just didn't have a lot of experience. They're going to be bombing bridges, troop buildups, if they can find a troop buildup, probably primarily roadways, bridges, railways to try to stop the supplies and the reinforcements to the German forces.
So at approximately 11 a.m., Ed and the other pilots took off. Up until this point, Ed had primarily been the lead with the goal of protecting his leader. But now, a seasoned veteran of nearly 4 months, he had been moved up to a flight.
That one was awesome. That one's got to go.